welcome to the Faith Factor. My name is Liela Fuller, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about a subject that I believe is key to helping us not only with our faith walk, but also with our natural bodies. Today, we're going to be talking about rest. A few weeks ago, when I was praying about topics for the show, the Lord spoke to me and said to talk about rest. Now, I have to admit to you that I found this funny because rest is actually something that I still struggle with, but it's something that the Lord wants you and I to really, really deal with. And I know that if He wants me to talk about it, if He wants me to talk about a subject, that I'm not the only one who's struggling with it. So today on the Faith Factor, we are going to discuss rest as a weapon. Now, I know you may be thinking, Liela, how in the world can rest be a weapon? But the truth is that it can be a valuable tool and a valuable weapon in how we fight spiritually, but also how we perform naturally, how we give our bodies the opportunity to sit, to rest, so that we have the capacity to do more. Did you know that it is possible for us to be so busy doing all of the things that at the end of the day or at the end of a week, we are almost no good to anyone, including ourselves? Here's a real world example for you. Have you ever had a knife in your kitchen drawer that you used so much that it became dull? Dull to the point where it was almost unusable? And once a knife is no longer sharp, the only way to get it back to the sharp tool that it once was is to sharpen it with a knife sharpener, right? Or with some other sharpening tool. Then we can use the same analogy for our lives. We can go and do so much that when it comes time for God to use us or for us to do the things that we are called to do, we are like that dull knife in the drawer, unable to cut and slice, unable to really be used because we are so worn down. But rest is like a knife sharpener for us. It allows us to be sharp and do what God has called us to do and to do it well. Now, as hard as it is for us, for some of us, myself included, to take the time and just rest and be in God's presence without doing anything, without, tweeting or twittering or any of that, it is vitally important. Now, being transparent, I can tell you that my struggle with rest comes from the fact that I am a visionary. I have lots of goals, dreams, and things I need to accomplish. And somehow, some way, somewhere along the way in my life, I got it in my head that I needed to not rest until the goal that I was looking at or the thing that I was doing was accomplished. But the truth for me is that when I rest at regular intervals, God gives me so much more wisdom, strategy, and supernatural ease to do the things He's given me to do and to do it well. Rest also helped me, or I should say, this new season of rest has helped me to realize that some of what God has given me is actually for now, but some of it is for later. And so I've attempted to do all of the things He's given me all at one time. But the reality is that some of it He's given me to just pray on and wait and meditate on so that He can give me further instructions when it's time. Rest gives me an opportunity to seek Him and receive the peace I need, the wisdom I need, and the answers I need to actually do the thing I am working so hard to do most times in my own strength. Because here's the truth. If I am trying to do what He gave me fully in my own strength, then it's not Him, it's all me. And I won't get nearly as much done as when I do when He leads me and He guides me. Because if I'm doing it in my own strength, I'm really not strong enough to do all that He's called me to do without Him. Now, throughout Scripture, God reminds us to rest and to come away with Him. Rest is important to God. So really, what is rest? Now, rest is defined as a cease of work or movement in order to relax, refresh oneself, or recover strength. And I just want to ask you, when was the last time you rested? Rest is a biblical concept. Let's go over to the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verses 2 and 3. It says, "And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had done, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had done." Verse 3 says, "Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because in it he rested from all his work which God had created and made." Now, prior to these verses, God made our entire universe, the whole world. He made it. He created the animals, the seas, the light, the darkness, and he even created man, all in 6 days. God worked hard, and on the seventh day, he said, "You know what? I'm going to rest. I'm going to take my time, and I'm just going to rest. I'm just going to chill out." If God, the creator of the universe, rested after toiling and building for 6 days, why is it that we feel like we have to work our hands to the bone 7 days a week, 365 days of the year? I believe God gave us these scriptures as a template for our lives. Yes, work is good, and we should do it. But just as God rested, so should we. Now, if we go over to the book of Exodus, chapter 20, the Lord provides instructions for rest right in the Ten Commandments. Rest is actually a commandment. In verses 8 through 11, it says, "Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy." Verse 9 says, "6 days you shall labor and do all your work." And verse 10 says, "But the seventh day is the Sabbath day of the Lord." But the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God. In it you shall do no work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested on the seventh day. Therefore, the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and hallowed it. We are supposed to rest, y'all. We are supposed to take time to rest. Rest is one of the 10 commandments. God has given us that commandment so that we take the time to not only rest our bodies, but to honor him, but to put down all that we're doing so that we can glorify him. In the New Testament, Jesus says in Matthew 11, verses 28 through 30, it says, come to me, all you who labor and are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. Now, I know that rest for some might be hard, but it is so vital that we take the time to rest. It is so vital. God made it such a point to let us know, not only in the Old Testament, but in the New Testament, how important it is for us to rest. So how do we use rest as a weapon? How do we use it as a weapon in our lives? When we allow ourselves the time to rest, we give God the time to pour into us everything that we've poured out, whether that's on our jobs, whether that's with our families, whether that's in our business, whether that's in our ministry. Everything that we are doing, it takes things out of us. But if we rest, we can be replenished. God replenishes us so that we can fight again. When we rest, God can give us what we need to continue on. When we rest our natural bodies, they get renewed and strengthened, and our minds get energized, and the creative ideas flow easily. My grandmother used to call them creative juices. When we rest and we seek God, we can come away with new ways to do things. We can come up with new ways to do the things that we've been trying to do in our own strength. And I can actually testify to this. So often I've been trying to do a thing and trying to figure it out and trying to figure it out and trying to figure it out. And on the inside, I knew that I was supposed to seek God and come before him and leave it at his feet. And I can tell you that sometimes in my stubbornness, I didn't do that. But the minute I did, I got all the instruction I needed. So here are 5 ways that you can use rest as a weapon in your life. Number 1, get enough sleep. Now, there are scientific studies that go the gamut of how many hours of sleep we should get as human beings. I say this, you know your body, you know how many hours of sleep you need. I know for me, I need at least 7 to be good. And if I haven't been resting, if I haven't been sleeping well, then I may need more. Whatever those hours that you know your body needs, get those hours of sleep in every day. And if you can't do it every day, try to do it as much as possible. Ask the Lord to protect your rest and ask him to meet you in the times of rest. Sit in his presence. This will allow you to just be with the Father, and being in his presence will rejuvenate your spirit and help you to come away stronger and better. Use the do not disturb feature on your phone to silence the world around you so you will be able to quiet your mind. So many of us have our phones buzzing and other devices buzzing constantly with texts and calls and notifications and so many other distractions. In rest, it is important to rest your mind from all of the noise, even if it's just for a few hours or overnight. Now, I can tell you that for me, this was a crucial step. I have actually taken it upon myself to set my phone so that my phone goes into do not disturb mode after 10 p.m. So if you're one of my friends and you're wondering why I don't answer my calls after 10 p.m., that's why. My phone is set to automatically go into do not disturb mode at 10 p.m. and it turns off automatically in the morning after my alarm goes off. And I do this on purpose because I want to get the best sleep I can. And I'm going to try to do everything I can to make that happen. And so for me, turning off or allowing my phone to go into do not disturb mode at 10 p.m. allows my mind to begin to wind down. And so I sleep my sleep is more effective because I don't have my phone dinging and chirping and the light going off at all hours of the day and night. And because I am not really a heavy sleeper, any little noise can wake me up. And that just disrupts my sleep. And so having my phone to turn off, to go into do not disturb allows me to get a peaceful rest. The other beauty of do not disturb is if there's an emergency, if you have, say, a son or a daughter or a spouse who, may be working late or things like that, that person can still get through to you. And so that's the blessing of it for me. All of the distracting things are set aside until I wake up the next day. But when I'm needed, when those calls need to come through, I can still receive them. The other thing you want to do, or the other key to using rest as a weapon, is to take time and read your word. Meditate on what God has spoken and let it find its place in your heart and spirit. There are so many other benefits to actually resting from your toil and your labor. So what does rest actually look like? What does it look like for real? Now, for some, it looks different. For me, rest is depending on what's going on in my life. Sometimes rest is sitting on the couch reading a book. Sometimes rest for me is going to bed early. Sometimes rest for me is watching a movie with my son. Sometimes rest is sitting in my prayer center waiting to hear from God. It really depends on what my body needs at the time. And so for you, I suggest that you spend time with the Lord and ask him, what kind of rest do I need? And you will get to a place where you are aware of what kind of rest you need. When you find out what that kind of rest is, be sure to take it. Here's how you'll know you've rested. Number one, you are rejuvenated. You're rejuvenated when your rest is complete, whether that's sleeping or being in the Lord's presence or just kind of just sitting out. You won't feel all of the stress that you've been experiencing throughout the day or the week or even the month. You'll feel that kind of weight being lifted off of you. The other thing is you'll feel less stress and you'll have more focus. You will also feel relaxed. So what happens when we don't get enough rest? Because many of us don't. And you may be able to pinpoint some of these things that I'm going to say. Number one, we can have less focus and we add more stress to our bodies. None of that's good, right? We need to have focus to do the things that we're called to do. And no one needs added stress to their bodies, right? Stress is a bad thing for the most part. And so we want to try to refrain from adding stress when we don't have to. So that's why rest, one of the reasons why rest is key. We were designed to rest regularly. And I believe that is why God exampled rest for us in Genesis. And I believe also that's why he made it a commandment in Exodus, because we are to rest. The other way you know that you're not getting enough rest is your circadian rhythm is off. Now, your circadian rhythm is what kind of tells your body when to go to sleep and when to wake up. But if you're having trouble sleeping, having trouble waking up on time, if your sleep pattern is off, all of that means your circadian rhythm may be off. And that comes when you don't get enough rest. Not getting enough rest can also affect your ability to think clearly. When you don't get enough rest, you don't think clearly. And your decision making can be off. The other thing is your immune system can suffer and you can be more susceptible to sickness and disease. And nobody wants that. So get enough rest. Getting rest will help our bodies to rejuvenate and restore. There's so many things that happen when we sleep and when we rest in our bodies. God has designed us to be a beautiful system. We are fearfully and wonderfully made. And the things that happen in our body when we sleep, it is really amazing to me. Our bodies rejuvenate. We rejuvenate at night when we're sleeping or whenever we're sleeping. Our bodies rejuvenate, and that's necessary. It's necessary for our brains to, work at optimum capacity. It's necessary for all of our organs to work at optimum capacity. Rest is necessary. The other thing that can happen when you don't get enough rest is you can forget things. You can forget minor things, and sometimes you can forget major things. I know that when I don't get enough sleep every night, or if I've had a season where my sleep has been off, forgetfulness is one of the things that happens to me often. I can be in the car driving to the store and totally forget that I needed to go to Target, or totally forget that I needed to go to the post office, or totally forget that I needed to go someplace else until I get home. And I know that when that happens, it's because I've not slept well. I've not rested, and I have a whole lot going on, and I've not allowed my mind to just stop and just be. Rest is a major key to wholeness and wellness, both naturally and spiritually. Now, I know that rest can be challenging for some to get. I know because it was challenging for me. And I'll be honest, sometimes it's still difficult. But I know that I'm beginning to understand the benefits of it. And so because of that, and because God commanded, I am seeking rest more often. For me, rest was difficult because I am a doer. But as the Lord prompted me, I sought rest, both for my natural body and for my spirit man. For me, physical rest is about turning off my computer and watching a movie or reading a book, or just kind of just lounging out, thinking about what's going on, not really thinking about what's going on, I'm sorry, and just kind of being, right? And the reason that this is rest for me is because I work really hard. I have my job requires brain work, right? And so my mind is constantly going, constantly going. And sometimes it's best to just not have to think, right? Because so I can allow my mind to rest. Because your mind does need rest too. My spiritual rest comes when I pray. And not just pray asking for things, but rather seeking to spend time at the feet of Jesus, praising him, listening to his instructions, getting in my word, and just really just sitting there waiting for God to speak. And sometimes he doesn't say anything, but sitting in his presence really is enough. So when you're seeking to rest spiritually, just say, Lord, I just want to be in your presence. If you have something to say, I'm listening. But if all I can be is in your presence, let me be in your presence. And I can tell you that I always walk out of that time rested, rejuvenated, and ready to take on and do whatever he's given my hands to do. Now, for you, rest may look completely different than what I've just described, and that's okay. I implore you to find out what kind of rest you need and get it. If you're a busy bee like me, it may be challenging at first, but once you realize how much you will benefit from getting the rest that you need, I believe you will find it easier and easier to do with consistency. So, what should rest look like? And how should we rest? What should we do when we rest? Where should we rest? All of these are questions that I had in the beginning, and they're probably ones that you have right now. And all I can say to you is seek God. You know your body, but God knows it better. God knows you intimately. He knows every detail about you. So if you are at all unsure of what type of rest you need, seek the Lord and ask him, God, what do I need? What do I need to rest from today? How do I need to rest? Where do I need to rest? Ultimately, we want to tackle this thing called rest so that we can be that sharp knife in the drawer, ready to be used by God, so that we can be on our best in everything that we do. Rest is a blessing, and it is a gift from God. It's a gift that he's given us so that we can be revived, rejuvenated, and restored both physically and spiritually. Rest allows us the opportunity to get rejuvenated and restored, which is something I believe we all need. I challenge you this week to find the time to rest, both naturally and spiritually. Seek God and ask him, Lord, what do I need to rest from today? Ask him and he will tell you. But if you know what you need to rest from, I implore you to do it. My name is Liela Fuller, and this has been the Faith Factor. I pray for you this week that you will find the time you need to rest, that you will find rest for your mind, your body, and your spirit. I'll see you on the next episode. I hope that you have an amazing week. The Middle Passage of Faith. Unlike the Middle Passage of slavery, the Middle Passage of Faith is a choice. It is a day-to-day and sometimes moment-to-moment decision to walk in faith no matter what you see. The middle passage of faith is that time between stepping out on faith and actually walking into the manifestation of a God-sized promise. Unfortunately, it's something many people gloss over when sharing their stories. Before taking my leap of faith, I often wondered about the middle. I would often hear men and women of faith discuss how they made it through this trial or that trial with very little detail about the middle of their journey. Their stories always seemed to have a beginning and an end, but very few talked about what happened in between, what I call the middle. I rarely heard them discuss how difficult it was to obey God at any cost. They discussed their yeses and their successes, but they hardly ever discussed whether they had moments of doubt, fear, or frustration. I've taken several leaps of faith in my lifetime, and very few people know what my middle looked like and how it felt. Most people would have no idea of the tears I cried and the insane number of times I wanted to quit. I believe the middle is just as important as the beginning and the end. The middle builds character, cements faith, and encourages trust in God. We cannot get to the end of a journey without a middle passage. We do not just transport from one place to another. I hope you will follow along with me. You will be encouraged that you are not alone when you face your trials after trusting God. I am here to tell you to trust God anyway. Jump. My name is Liela Fuller, and I am the author of The Journey of Faith, now available on Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, Target.com, and wherever books are sold. You can also purchase a signed copy at LilaMarieFuller.com or ThoughtsOfAThankfulHeart.com. Get yours today.